What is going on, everybody? ZyoniK here, and in today's video, I'm going to be utilizing a very strong team suggested to me on the YouTube comments from yesterday's video from Kyle Dillard there, recommending the Clodsire, Mandibuzz, and Shadow Feraligatr safe swap. It is absolutely deadly. This team is like as meta as we can get out the gate, right, with what we have available to us. Shadow Feraligatr has been strong for a while, but with the lack of lanterns really in the meta, the lack of grass type Pokemon that are really common, and even then we do have Ice Beam, there are booms today. And then the synergy behind Clodsire and Mandibuzz is just so strong. This team was absolutely dominant, had a ton of fun using it. So I would dare to say it's the top meta team, at least from what I've found from my own gameplay so far, and looking stuff up. This is like, it is really good. So I hope you guys enjoy, and let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright, getting into the first battle, we have Clodsire on the lead versus Azumarill. Now, Azumarill will be able to do super effective damage to us, guaranteed, whether that's Ice Beam or Hydro Pump. And the question is, if it's Ice Beam, we can easily survive. Hydro Pump is going to be a different story, right? It's going to hit like a truck because it is same time attack bonus, and it's a very hard-hitting charge move. Now, we're going to go for the Earthquake here, and we do get a shield. So I decided to swap out into Feraligatr, and we do bait out a Ferrothorn. The reason why I was trying to swap out there, I was trying to catch the Hydro Pump, but we're going to go for a Hydro Cannon ourselves. Even though this is going to be resisted, it's still going to do a ton of damage, and they actually decide to shield here. So now I have an opportunity in front of me to basically flip switch. Now, I don't really need that in order to potentially win this game because Mandibuzz against Azumarill is probably a worse matchup, right? But what we're going to do is go for the aggressive farm down with Shadow Claw if I can. Now, one thing that catches me off guard here is the fact that the switch clock is back up. I talked about it yesterday if you guys saw that battle or the video with Kanto Marowak. Right here, get caught out with them swapping in to throw the charge move, which I guess is okay as Play Rough, boom, does take us out. And now we're going to come back in with Clodsire and try to do as much damage as possible before they get to the inevitable Ice Beam or Hydro Pump, both of which will do a lot of damage to us, especially at this health range. And Mandibuzz from here can take out Azumarill with one Aerial Ace, so we should be fine. It's probably going to be Hydro Pump. I feel it in my bones, and it is. Boom! Down we go. So now we only have Mandibuzz remaining. There's an Azumarill on the other side with Play Rough, and it wins charge attack priorities. So it's like, oh, game over here, right? Play Rough lands. But Mandibuzz is so good in this meta. So good. In fact, we're going to go. I'm so frustrated. You guys can see from my swipes, I don't even get an excellent. I know it's going to be taking it out. But the final Pokemon is Alolan Marowak. They try to swap to catch the charge move, but I go for the aggressive farm down. And now Mandibuzz just does a clean 1v3 here after getting hit with Play Rough, able to go for the back-to-back Dark Pulse, even if the Marowak, the goat there, gets to a Shadow Bone, which it wasn't going to in time, or a Bone Club, it wasn't going to be enough damage. Boom! We take it out. So Mandibuzz cleaning things up in game one. Good game. Alright, moving to the next one. Clodsire Mirror, shiny on shiny as well. This was a Community Day Pokemon, but ironically, no Community Day move is needed. That's going to be Mega Horn, when in reality, for the Open Great League, you're going to want to have Stone Edge and Earthquake as the optimal moveset. Now, Earthquake on Earthquake, it's not as bad as the Galarian. Actually, it is as bad as the Galarian Stunfisk, but it won't one-shot you. And something else to note is you do not want to be running with Mudshot, because Mudshot was nerfed this season. Poison Sting was buffed. You want to run with Poison Sting 100% right now, at least in this season. That might change in future seasons. So Stone Edge is going to land. They didn't have enough energy because I had just gotten to the Earthquake and we are mirroring energy, right? So there was no way that that was an Earthquake. It had to have been a Stone Edge. So we go for our own Earthquake. We can speak today. They decide to swap out into Feraligatr, which is beautiful. We have a 2-0 shield advantage. We're landing a free Earthquake. We're going to be counter swapping into our own Feraligatr now to go for the aggressive farm down. And Shadow Feraligatr is a monster. We are going to have to double shield here. I know Hydro Cannon is resisted, or the potential crunch, right? Hydro Cannon is resisted, but it still does a lot of damage. And what I would rather have is a Feraligatr in the zeros with a ton of energy to be able to delete whatever comes in. Even if it's a grass type Pokemon. Remember, I'm running with Ice Beam, not Crunch. And it's gonna be a Jumpluff. So we're going straight for the Ice Beam right here. Talk about a boom! One-shots the Jumpluff. And now we have the Clodsire coming in, but they have a Stone Edge ready to go. Thankfully, the Feraligatr is going to be able to hang on. We will get to this Hydro Cannon in time. I need to swap out, and I need them to get rid of the rest of their energy. So we're going to go into the mirror here and force them to throw another Stone Edge, because then I guarantee against Mandibuzz that they will not be able to get to 2 Stone Edges in time, right? Because they have to throw before I get to the Earthquake. They throw the Stone Edge, which is fine. Now Mandibuzz coming in, we are perfectly fine to win this game, as Dark Pulse is going to be able to take out the Clodsire, so that is going to be a good game, very well played. Basically a mirror right there, right? Clodsire, Flyer, and Feraligatr, but having the shield advantage really paid off. That Ice Beam against Jumpluff, good game. Alright, moving to the next one, we have Shadow Dragonite here on the lead. Shadow Dragonite is going to be with Dragon Tail as well. Can do a lot of damage against this team in the right situation, but unfortunately for the Dragonite, the lead situation here is in my control because Stone Edge will one-shot. So I'm just going to keep overloading on energy. I was anticipating them maybe trying to swap to catch a Stone Edge for resisted damage, but the Stone Edge here is going to boom, one-shot. I'm like, alright, why did you do that? Obviously Dragonite's going to get one shot, so maybe they have another Flyer, but they actually come in with Mew. So this is pretty interesting, a unique team right here, 2 answers to fighters right here. So my guess is maybe they have something weak to Clodsire in the back. If we think about the formation right now, it makes sense if they have a Steel back there potentially, maybe even a Bastiodon, right? If you have a Mew and you have a Dragonite, those are really good against fighters, and they do get the boost right there. Well, it is Flame Charge, so they obviously get the boost. So I'm going to come in with Mandibuzz, again, predicting that it might be a Steel back there. I don't know what it is. It could be Bastion, could be Registeel, maybe Ferrothorn, something, but a Steel would make sense. But it's actually a Beedrill. So a triple anti-fighter team, resistance through Flying, Psychic, and Bug Poison, which is very cool to see. It's a shiny Beedrill as well. But unfortunately for my opponent, the Mandibuzz is doing very well in this matchup. They are going to go for the shield baits here with Felsinger to boost that attack so that the poison jabs do more damage. But Mandibuzz is the Flying Umbreon. It is an absolute tank. It is worth investing and powering up. Mine as well is just a hatch, right? I haven't gotten any good trades, and my Mandibuzz does just fine. So if you're in the kind of the same situation where you have a Volibee that you could use in the Great League, but it was hatched, I mean, go for it, right? It's going to still do well. It's about the moveset and typing, and especially in the open Great League when you're doing blind GBL battles, it's going to do just fine. Finally, we have the Mew coming in, but we will be able to get to the Dark Pulse, and we still have our Shadow Feraligatr with the Shadow Claw, super effective damage, so we're going to be taking out the Mew, boom, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. Alright, moving to the next one, Clodsire versus Clodsire once again. This is what I saw today. I saw the mirrors a lot, and I just like going straight for Earthquakes right here. Because Clodsire is kind of like a core breaker to some teams because of Stone Edge and Earthquake. It has a lot of great coverage with that. And the coverage that it provides on the Earthquake side is kind of covered as well by the Feraligatr with Hydro Cannon, if we're taking a look at its targets, right? So Earthquake right here going to be landing, which is perfect. And now this is where things get a little dicey. I'm going to go on Charge Attack Priority, because, well, I wanted to see who would win, and I actually won the flip right here, which is good. And Earthquake is going to get shielded. I tried to see if maybe I could swap into Mandibuzz in case they actually decided not to throw there, but the fast move didn't come through anyway, so the Earthquake will knock us out. But we do have a 2-to-1 shield advantage, which is great for Feraligatr here. And what I'm going to do as well is I could go for Hydro Cannon right there, but what I actually want is a lot of loaded energy for whatever they have in the back, because odds are they have a flyer as well, and sure enough they do. It's going to be Jumpluff, so I'm going to go for the Ice Beam here. This is a guarantee shield, and I believe this is Shadow as well, so it's another one-shot if it lands. We do get the shield. It's not a one-shot, so I swap into Mandibuzz instead, and now I got to be very careful in this matchup. A Shadow Dazzling Gleam or a Shadow Acrobatics is going to hurt, so I'm going to let the first one go, but it is just going to be Aerial Ace. So we're sitting fine. Our own Aerial Ace is going to do a lot of damage as well. We just can't let this Jumpluff really start to snowball this matchup, because as you guys can see, the Fairy Wind fast move, the Aerial Ace charge move spam is going to be adding up, and there's still a Clodsire we have to deal with. There's still Switch Clock that is coming back up very soon, and they do swap out. So another pseudo mirror, right? It's going to be the Jumpluff in the back instead of the Mandibuzz, but I have been preferring the Mandibuzz, and you guys have seen why. It does so well, and their own Feraligatr is going to be coming in, but thankfully we resist the Shadow Claw damage, and we're going to go ahead and let this go. We're going to let our own Feraligatr sweep this game. 1-0 shields, a 3v1, and I think we can do it so long as we aggressively farm down. And you guys saw me do this before with Mandibuzz against the Ferrothorn, Alolan Marowak. Now I'm doing it with Feraligatr against the Clodsire and Jumpluff. If I'm looking top right, whatever I see, Switch Clock is not up, I go for the Hydro Cannon into Clodsire, and I go for Ice Beam into Jumpluff. And this is what's so cool about Feraligatr. You can have both charge moves loaded if you have enough energy. We take out the Clodsire, we have the Ice Beam ready to go, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. Boom! Down it goes. Feraligatr is so good. Good battle. Alright, moving to the next one. Lantern! It's back! Lantern on the lead, and this is going to be a Water Gun variant. Now, Lantern core breaks this team, but this team can fight back against Lantern. We have Earthquake, we have Dark Pulse, and we have Shadow Claw Hydro Cannon combination, which is still very strong, and this is a Water Gun Lantern as well, which Clodsire needs to fear. Now, they decide to swap into a Decidueye, which gives me free reign to come in with our Mandibuzz and overload a lot on energy while saving that energy on the Clodsire that we had on the lead. Mind you, we have basically 100 energy on there because I didn't throw a single charge move. Aerial Ace here is going to be doing super effective damage, and I really want to farm down with Snarl. We're seeing that the I believe they're running Astonish. Let's see the fast move. It doesn't matter. It's going to be another Frenzy Plant. But the Decidueye is still getting us relatively low, right? Getting us into the red. That's pretty good. But we are going to be able to farm down. It was Astonish. And then we're going to see the Lantern come in, and this is where Mandibuzz's Dark Pulse, much like the Noctowl with Shadow Ball was so crucial for Lanterns, that neutral damage really pays off. And what we're going to look to do is go for the Dark Pulse here. We don't want to swap out and go for the Stone Edge, right? Because we're just going to get Switch Locked with whatever they have in the back. So instead, we're going to come in with Feraligatr, anticipating that they go for the Blind Surf throw, which is exactly what they did. Played right into my trap, and now we see a Shadow Drapion in the back, which Feraligatr can handle in this situation because we are ahead on energy, and the Hydro Cannon is going to do a ton of damage. Now remember, I have Switch Clock up still. They just swapped out from Lantern into Drapion, so once I land, or once I throw this next Hydro Cannon, whether it lands or gets a shield, I'm coming in with the Clodsire, because it's going to be able to throw an Earthquake, and because Lantern is Water Gun, right, and not Spark, we're going to be able to get to the Stone Edge. Now, unfortunately, it is going to be charge attack priority, but that's fine. We still have one shield remaining, but the Earthquake is going to be booming as there's no shields left. We have Poison Sting and plenty of excess energy for that Stone Edge against the Lantern. Boom! Down it goes, and now we're off to the races, but Water Gun is just going to get outpaced, outclassed, and outshined by Clodsire, the new meta tank in the Open Great League. Boom! See ya! And that is going to be a good game, very well played. All right, next one, Azumarill once again. This is going to be a Pokemon that you guys see a lot more of. Again, when Lantern drops down in the rankings and we see stuff like Jumpluff, Mandibuzz, Feraligatr, Clodsire, Carbink all coming up, Azumarill has the moveset and the bulk to go against those. Whether it's Ice Beam, Play Rough, or Hydro Pump, it's going to have that coverage, so you guys will see a lot more Azumarills this season if the meta stays as is. Now, thankfully, in this situation, that was an Ice Beam and not a Hydro Pump, so we're free to stay in, we're free to go for the Earthquakes right here, and it does land. And unfortunately for me, they will be able to get to the charge move. So I'm going to decide to shield and go for the farm down because I can get myself switch advantage. But they swap out into Malamar. So I'm going to look to load up some energy and then come in with Mandibuzz right here. Hoping, obviously, superpower and foul play. But my opponent, the genius that he is, or they are, Hyper Beam lands. Was not ready for that. Hyper Beam does a lot of damage. Thankfully, Mandibuzz is still extremely tanky, but this completely shifts this game's mindset into, I don't know if I can overcome this because I can't give up my final shield because I don't know if Mandibuzz is really the Pokemon to keep alive. I have no clue what they have back there. If they have another dark type Pokemon, maybe the Feraligatr does a bit better with the Hydro Cannon damage and not necessarily the low health Mandibuzz. So we're going to let the Hyper Beam go. We're going to come in with Feraligatr and aggressively farm down with Shadow Claw. Remember, Azumarill is extremely low, and it was another dark type Pokemon, but it's actually going to be a Greninja, which is going to be so tough. The only way I win this game is if I swap into Clodsire to catch the charge move, but get to throw the Stone Edge before that happened. It's like, it's so tough. So I shield the first Night Slash, and that was a mistake because they get the boost as well, and I didn't get the swap in time, so that is going to be a good game. Night Slash is going to be taking me out right here. Boom! Down I go. I would have gotten to that Stone Edge, right, if I played it a little bit better. So that is going to be getting the final shield here from Greninja, but they will fast move me down, and that is going to be a good game. Very well played. All right, moving to the next one, Stunfisk. This is a core breaker, right? I told you guys this season, especially out the gate, is going to have very strong core breakers. We've seen Drifblim, maybe Abomasnow, and now Stunfisk. So what you have to do in this situation, Stunfisk can beat this whole team right in a 1v1 because of Discharge and Mud Bomb. What we have to do is just stay in and sacrifice the Clodsire, right? Clodsire can still do super effective damage with Earthquake. We are going to lose our Clodsire here. That is totally fine. But what we're going to get is shields from our opponent, and Shadow Feraligatr with a Hydro Cannon can take it out, and Mandibuzz still has Dark Pulse if needed later on in the game. So we're going to go ahead and let these Mud Bombs go through. I can easily get to 2 Earthquakes in time before they decide to go for the 3rd Mud Bomb, which is going to be perfect as we get the final shield. And now they're going to look to overload a bit and go for the final Mud Bomb. That's fine, right? Shadow Feraligatr can now come in. Shadow Claw and Hydro Cannon is going to be taking out the Stunfisk, and they're going to be in trouble, right? I have shields to protect me. Thundershock is not doing a lot of damage. It's the Discharge that I have to look out for. So I'm going to be giving up that first shield. I'm going to make sure I get rid of this Unova Stunfisk by going for the Hydro Cannon right away. I do not want this to escape. I don't want to be a slippery little glass boy and get out of there. So the Hydro Cannon, boom, will one-shot, and now we get to see what they have. It's going to be Victory Bell, so I come in with Mandibuzz, and sure enough, they don't have a great answer. Ironic, or not ironically, but very cool that they have unique answers in the back, right? They got a Heatmore, which does have access to Thunder Punch, and then they had a Magical Leaf Victory Bell. So thankfully, I got rid of the hardest counter, right? If you see a Stunfisk on the lead, odds are they don't have extreme hard counters as well in the back, except for some of those outlier teams like we saw with the triple anti-fighter, the Dragonite, the Beedrill, and the Mew. So in this situation, we're going to be winning this game. Good game to my opponent. But obviously, I had to sacrifice the Clodsire. I had to get rid of the Stunfisk right away with Feraligatr, and then obviously it set up Mandibuzz to sweep this game because we have a huge type advantage there against Victory Bell, and we have great bulk and neutral damage against the Heatmor, even though they did have Thunder Punch, as we did have 1 shield remaining. So that's going to be a good game to my opponent. They are fighting the good fight, but ultimately Mandibuzz is top meta this season, so that is going to be a good game, very well played. All right, moving into the end of the video. This is going to be the final game. This team, Kyle Dillard, thank you for sharing this team with me. It was really strong, right? I could have made better choices throughout these battles, but honestly, the core of Clodsire and Mandibuzz is extremely potent. They have great synergy together, and then the Shadow Feraligatr is just an absolute force to be reckoned with, even if a Shadow Victory Bell comes in to shred it, or we see some electric type Pokemon. You have that neutral super effective damage that you can do, and even resist it. If you guys played in previous seasons, Shadow Feraligatr against Lantern was still very close because of how much damage Shadow Claw and Hydro Cannon did. So this is definitely like a tippity top meta team, right? This is going to be the stuff that people, if everything kind of stays the same, they're going to be running at the high ranks variations of this because it's just that good. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and like always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.